Good evening, everybody, or good morning, whenever you're watching this recording. I'm really excited that you're joining our Campus Leaders program this semester and wanted to make sure that you had access to some really helpful information to get you started. So tonight we're going to be mostly just spending a little bit of time getting to know each other as we were just doing, and also getting to know a little bit more about the Emerging Campus Leader training sequence that you'll be participating in over the course of the fall semester as a new campus leader. So first things first, I'm going to share my screen here, and you'll be able to see our agenda for the call tonight. Um, in general, every time that we meet on this campus leader strategy call, you'll have an agenda very similar to this. It will include a lot of helpful links at the top, and we'll also give you a preview of what we'll be talking about first in our emerging campus leader call time together in those first 30 minutes, and also what we'll be talking about with the broader group of campus leaders when they all join us in about 20 minutes now. So let's take a look at this emerging campus leader training sequence. This is what we're going to be working through and learning about together over the course of the fall semester for all of you as new campus leaders. Um, and every month when we meet, you're going to have essentially one assignment from this list to complete. And the next time that we check in with each other, we'll talk a little bit about what we learned while we were completing that assignment from the previous month. So the very first assignment, and the one that you will be actually getting started on tonight, is to attend an info session. Now, I know many of you probably attended one already. This is our welcome call, essentially, for all new volunteers and people who are just getting to know us and deciding if we're a good fit for them. But even if you've attended it previously, I really want you to attend another one. First of all, because those sessions are always changing. We're always adding new information, taking new actions with people. And of course, who's in the audience shapes our call every single week. More importantly, though, I want you to attend it from the perspective of what you are now, a leader yourself. So you might find that in listening to it from that perspective and from that frame, you pick up on things differently. You hear different information. And hopefully you learn a little bit about how we speak about CCL ourselves that you can adapt and bring to your campus community. Obviously, everybody is going to put their own little spin on it, but we've been giving this info session in some way, shape, or form since the organization was started, every single week hosting this call. So we've learned a few things about what works and what doesn't, and hopefully those are all things that you can apply to your own work on your campuses. Things like how we describe our mission and values to people who are new to us and learning about us. Things like how we invite people into the conversation, even on a Zoom call. How do we make sure that this is more of a dialogue as opposed to just a lecture? So that'll be your first assignment. Those are typically live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll get signed up for that in just a moment. The next assignment will be to join a higher education action team orientation call. So the info session is an orientation to CCL as a whole. The higher ed action team orientation call introduces you to our collegiate work. So again, even if you've joined one of these in the past, I'd like you to join this one to hear a little bit about how we talk about the role of college students in the climate movement and the opportunities for them within CCL. This will, of course, be very different from the opportunities that you're providing on your campus, but it can still give you a little bit of a sense of how we talk about our work. The next assignment will be to sign up for a climate advocate training. This is our flagship training where we teach people how to lobby their members of Congress. It is a longer training. We'll probably do this sometime in October, I think is when the next one will be offered. So make sure you're signed up for that ahead of our virtual lobby day, which will be in December. So if you want to gather a few of your classmates to participate in that, you can. Um, Even though it is technically about lobbying, there are a lot of things in there that I feel are very transferable to just generally speaking with people in positions of power and an upper level leadership. So even if you decide that your campus chapter or your campaign on campus is not going to incorporate meeting with a member of Congress at any point, which would be a bummer, but is totally acceptable. You will find that this training is still really helpful in thinking about how do you arrange these conversations, getting over any sort of nerves or anxiety one might have going into a meeting. how to make sure that those meetings are productive, very productive, um, and that you're not accidentally shutting down the conversation with the way you're speaking or presenting yourself or presenting the issue at hand. So we'll participate in one of those later in the fall. Obviously, throughout the course of the fall semester, you'll be expected to attend the emerging campus leader calls like this one that you're on right now or watching right now. We'll be tracking your attendance throughout and making sure that you're getting all the information. That said, pretty much all of these calls will be recorded. We know that life happens. You might unfortunately be signed up for a class at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Mondays. And obviously, you're a student first, so we want you to go to class. Don't skip class for these meetings. But it is really valuable to be here in person, so make an effort to join every single month. This will be a really good touch point, not only in terms of getting information, but also sharing what you're learning and brainstorming and connecting with other people from across the country who are in similar journeys as you. And then lastly, you will be completing the community website walkthrough. This is probably one of the most underrated core volunteer trainings. And I say underrated because, especially among our campus leaders, I know I made this mistake when I was starting out to CCL as staff. I thought, like, it's just a website. How hard can it be to find information and to get around? And I'm young. I know how to use a computer and a web browser. Turns out, to this day, I still struggle to find things on community sometimes. And this training has helped me a lot to figure out where information is, how best to find it, where to go to ask specific questions, and also to familiarize myself with just how expansive the CCL network is. So we'll be making sure that we're learning how to best use that website as a resource, because you'll find once you learn how to navigate CCL community, there is a lot of information that is readily accessible to you anytime you need it, a lot of resources. So you don't have to be reinventing the wheel or emailing me or your climate advocacy fellow anytime that you need something, because you can probably find it on that website. So that is the baseline emerging campus leader sequence. However, I did include a paragraph here with additional resources you might want to consider if you have a little bit more time, or if you're feeling like this isn't quite giving you the support that you need. As a reminder, we'll also have those higher education action team calls every month in addition to this call each month. And you'll be having a monthly check-in with your climate advocacy fellow. So we want to make sure to not overwhelm you with meetings and trainings and things like that. But if you are an overly organized and prepared person, we would love to make sure that you have those resources as well. So the first one is the Climate Advocacy Certificate Program. If you're interested in earning a certificate, potentially even earning academic credit through your institution, I would definitely recommend signing up for this. It is structured more as like a 1 credit online course that you might get through your university, and you'll have a weekly live session. Also, recordings will be available for that too. And then you'll be asked to post in a discussion forum after the session. So if you're interested in having more of like that weekly rhythm, something that feels a little bit more like a class, definitely sign up for that. We're starting again on September 3rd. So you can register right now at the link you see there, and it is completely free. I also recommend the sequence of chapter and volunteer development trainings, especially if you are working right now on things like recruiting new volunteers, um, or trying to level up a volunteer from being a more passive participant in your group to taking on some leadership positions. Like, you can also delegate more tasks and not feel like you have to do everything to get your group started. It's really helpful, just chock full of tips and best practices. In conjunction with that, you might find that the emerging group leaders, the group on community, is a helpful hub for specific skills that you might need as a group leader. It's very similar to our emerging campus leader call in that they meet regularly and discuss any challenges that they're having with getting their group started. But because it is tailored to our regular chapters, we have found that not all of the information is relevant to campus chapters. So we didn't want to overwhelm everybody by kind of forcing you into that group, but it is available to you if you think it would be helpful. You can access it. And lastly, of course, you've got your climate advocacy fellows to help you find anything that you need. And I would love to just put an underline on this. Please use them. They are so excited to work with you, so excited to be coaching you this semester, and really, really knowledgeable people who have been in your shoes and or learning a lot about what you're going through. And we would much rather you reach out to us with any questions than ghost us because you're struggling and for some reason feel embarrassed or shame around it. It is hard. What you are about to do is challenging. So we understand that and we just want to be here to help you get through that. All right. So that is pretty much it for the recording. You'll see in that agenda sheet, there is a link to sign up for an upcoming info session. So please go ahead and register. It is the same link every single week. So even if you aren't able to join this Wednesday night for whatever reason, but you might be able to join on a future Wednesday night later in the month, go ahead and sign up now so that you just don't forget about it. Get it on your calendar sooner than later before it gets too filled up with all of your campus organizing activities and your classes starting. Go ahead and sign up now and just know you can use that Zoom link to tune in next week or the week after if you need to. Just make sure that you watch that before the next time that we meet for our Emerging Campus Leader call on September 16th. So I will see you all then and look forward to hearing more about all of your organizing this semester. All right, everybody, welcome to our August Campus Leader Strategy call. My brain thought it was September somehow. Apologies for that. It's been a very, very long summer. So I wanted to start us off after our great connection before content and getting to know each other a little bit with a little recap of what you missed on the higher ed call if you didn't join us 2 weeks ago for that one. And again, as a refresher, since I know we have some new folks on here, the higher ed action team meets on the first Mondays of the month at the same exact time to talk about more generally about topics that are of interest within CCL for our college students and for volunteers who are working to engage them. And then, of course, we have this space specifically for our campus leaders to focus on your organizing strategies and upskilling and making sure that you have everything that you need to affect change in your communities. So on the August call for higher ed, we had Rachel Carestis, which is I keep saying new executive director. She is the executive director of CCL. She's now about a month and a half, 2 months into her role, and we're really excited to have her. We had an opportunity to meet with her and have her share a little bit of her philosophy on why it's so important that we continue to engage younger people in the climate movement. I think it was really validating to hear that, and also gave all of you an opportunity to share some feedback of what you think CCL does well, and also some things that you think CCL can maybe do better, especially if we're serious about reaching younger populations. So if you missed that call, you can watch the recording and also see the action sheet at this link. The recording is linked at the top of that. And I can't find the chat button now. Anyway, strongly recommend doing that. I will also take this as an opportunity to invite all of you to email me if you have any feedback you would like to share with Rachel as well. If you're not able to make that call, I know she's very eager to hear from more of our volunteers about what makes CCL special and also about ways that she can help transform the organization to be a more welcoming and inclusive space for people of all backgrounds. So please feel free to reach out to me if there is something else you would like to share with her that did not come up in that meeting. In addition, we spent some time talking about Electrification Month. Who here knew that it was Electrification Month for CCL this month? Nice. A few of you. Fabulous. So if you did not know what this was until just now, this is for the month of August. CCL volunteers all across the country are focusing on initiating conversations around the power of home electrification. Obviously, for a lot of us who are students or recent grads, we may not have our own homes that we can electrify, but we are on campuses that can do a lot better by many accounts. So CCL volunteers are doing lots of really engaging and creative things, not only initiating those conversations in their communities, but doing things like front porch ribbon cuttings and inviting people to see more cutting edge appliances, uh, more energy efficient appliances, and what those retrofitting processes can look like to make it just be a little bit more kind of demystified and seem a little less scary. So very similarly, if you are interested in participating in some way, it may not happen before the end of August, since I know many of you are probably not going to be back on campus for very long by the end of this month. Um, but there are lots of really cool buildings often on university campuses. There are lots of LEED certified buildings. You might have a like sustainability testing building. I know my alma mater, Florida International University, has a solar house that shows people the potential of powering our spaces with solar energy, and they kind of walk you through a little bit of the technology behind that. So you can consider doing that as a club activity, reaching out to the sustainability director and asking them for a tour of a sustainable, like a LEED certified building on campus, or to explain some of the sustainability initiatives regarding electrification that the university is engaging in. So that's a quick recap on what we went over on the August call. If folks were on there and would like to share anything that I skipped out on, or that I missed saying, yeah, the caffeine is hitting in a weird way right now. Um, please, the folks who have been here for a while know what's up. Um, so please feel free to chime in and let me know if I missed anything. All right. I guess that was a solid recap. Fabulous. Do any of you know of any cool, as I was describing some of those like electrification tours, like of a LEED certified building, do any of you kind of immediately know of a building on your campus that you might be able to do that on, or like take your group to, or some of your classmates and peers to learn about electrification? I think we found our first assignment. I am nearly certain you all have LEED certified buildings. It's been a very big thing in building code for a while, um, or at least some like sustainability, electrification labs that are testing out new technologies. So I definitely encourage you all to look into that when you're back on campus. Um, for many of you, some of the first conversations you might have as you're starting your chapters or getting started up again after the summer might be with a sustainability director for your institution. So that would be a good question to add to your list of things you'll ask them, and see if there might be an opportunity to do kind of an open house for students with a little bit of a peek behind the scenes of what the university is trying to do to bring down its carbon emissions. All right. Um, so now I want to introduce you all to a brand new resource that we have developed for you. And I say we because Giovanna helped out a huge amount in putting together our first ever formal campus leader action sheet. So if you have been involved in leadership at CCL previously, you'll know that our group leaders are provided with an action sheet that is normally like 7 or 8 pages long at the beginning of every month, that provides them with policy updates, campaign updates, and really specific sample meeting agendas that they can use with their groups, with their chapter meetings. And Giovanna helped us put together this action sheet for our campus leaders. You'll see it's a lot shorter, and it's going to be very specifically tailored every month to opportunities for college students to get involved. And actually, Giovanna, if you would like to, you are welcome to help introduce this to folks. I realize I didn't ask you beforehand, but if you would like to walk us through it, you're welcome to.
Sure. I mean, you pretty much hit all the bases. It's just a resource for camps leaders to use much in the same way that the action sheets were used to be. I used to be a group leader and I use the action sheets all the time. I couldn't always come up with my own activities or stuff like that. So action sheets were really, really helpful for me. So I thought, campus leaders could use this resource as well. And that's kind of what led to developing this. So we have this first part. This is just kind of like the basic intro. But it starts with like information for volunteers. You can read that at the beginning of your meeting. It's just helpful to share. I do want to ask Stephanie, how in depth should I go? Do you want me to like read it out
We've got
or how
about
would you
like
get
10
into it?
minutes. We've got about like 10 minutes for this, so we don't necessarily have to read it out, but I think just a general orientation, and then each of us can um, do a deeper dive into the sections that are particularly interesting to us in our groups.
Okay. So like I said, this is pretty much just the intro sheet. It goes through the basics like information you can share with your volunteers. For example, we have some news about the upcoming inclusion conference, the Prove It Act that was recently introduced in the House, slide like just helpful things that you can share with your volunteers each month that might be inspirational or important to know. And then the next section is a sample meeting agenda. So this sample meeting agenda is based off basically the items in the action sheet. And it's just there for you to kind of shape your meeting agenda month by month with the actions that are currently being, that we're currently focusing on. And it's just a helpful guide for each month. If you like struggle to create your own meeting agendas or you find that it's kind of an extra load that's you know, not fun, you can always refer to this action sheet and there's a sample meeting agenda right there. And then this top little section is just a overview of what actions will be in the action sheet. So this month we did three. Like Stephanie said, it's much shorter than the CCL-wide action sheet, but that's because we know campus leaders have less time, I guess, than typical chapters to go through an entire, large action sheet. So this is kind of more streamlined to just talk about the most important actions you can take. And it also gives space for campus leaders to do their own thing. Because, campus leaders engage in advocacy in a ton of different ways. You guys are awesome. But so that's why we have like less action so you guys can get some inspiration, but also have room to do your own thing. So the first one that we did for this month was plan a welcome event to find new volunteers. So this isn't really based off anything on the main action sheet. It's just more helpful since as campus chapters, you're going to be booting up again at the beginning of the year. So the reason why we say welcome event and not specifically tabling event is because we know that a lot of campus chapters aren't registered are like registered student organizations. So we made sure to include another way to get involved if you aren't registered in an organization. But basically, the two main ways we included for students to kind of host a welcome event to find new volunteers is one, a tabling event at your school's club fair, and two, an introductory meeting. So we included a section about tabling at a club fair, and as you can see, there's a quick little description, a link to a training on how to table, and a bunch of links to materials that could be useful at your tabling event. Um, and then some pro tips as well. And then we move to the next section, which is hosting an introductory meeting. And then there we have kind of a bigger description because just to give the like necessary guidance, of course, you guys can look through it if you are interested in hosting one of these meetings. Um, but yeah, uh, at this last paragraph here, you can find some extra resources like all throughout the action sheet. The necessary resources you need to host these actions or take part in these actions will be linked in the sheet somewhere, like in the paragraphs and stuff. But yeah, it has a sample meeting agenda, link to the campus leaders manual, and I believe a form to update your chapter's affiliation with CCL. All right, and that's that action for this month. Stephanie and I definitely encourage like, getting, even if you are like a set chapter, it's really good to get that kickoff at the beginning of the year and just, engage new people because especially freshmen, there's a ton of new people who want to get involved and who are going to be looking for ways to get involved and just being there, is a good way to receive that like incoming excitement. And then the second action for this month is one that I'm super excited about because it has to do with the election, engaging in the Climate Goat campaign. So, for those who don't know, the Climate Goat campaign is basically a collaboration between the Higher Education Action Team and the National Youth Action Team to get out the climate vote ahead of the election. Specifically, students will use relational organizing and deep canvassing to encourage those around them, like their family and their friends, to vote. Um, so we're really trying to engage youth and students in like the GOAT campaign. just so we can access our networks and get those people to vote. So there is a training on both relational organizing and deep canvassing, the two tactics that can be used to kind of get out the vote. Relational organizing is basically mobilizing with others whom you have a personal connection, so like accessing your networks. And then deep canvassing is more of a structured conversation tactic that emphasizes empathy and emotion with the intention of shifting the person's belief or perception. So, as I said, there's a training for both of them. If you want to check that out, if you're like not sure and you want to get a bit more information on how exactly to deep canvas or relational organize and how exactly you can engage in this campaign, that's there. And then for each of these campaign type actions, we included a section for possible actions you can take at your meeting. So this section is just basically going to list out things that you could do at your meeting or start planning to do after your meeting and how much time that would take out of your meeting. So if you're not sure what to do during your meeting, you're trying to fill it up, you can choose from these actions one, two, as many or as little as you want. You can choose and include them in your meeting. So here we have like six or seven. And as you can see, like all the times are right next to it, so you can see how long each one would take. But yeah, you guys can definitely look through that and see if any seem interesting to include in your gathering. And then the final action for this month is participating in the carbon fee and dividend movement. I'm sure some of you are probably familiar with it. Like I believe it was part of the higher education action team for a while there. Um, but it's a student-centered campaign that works to build support among college students for the most effective climate policy, a carbon fee and dividend. That's their tagline. It's a great way for campus chapters to take action, and it's easy and fun to get involved. And they use a variety of creative tactics to build support for the carbon fee and dividend movement. So there really are a lot of ways to get involved with this campaign. The first step, obviously, would be joining. You can there's a link for joining. You don't necessarily have to, but it is good to get guidance and kind of be more aware of what's going on in the movement and how you can engage. And joining will give you access to more resources, the Slack workspace, and other tools to get involved. And there's also national calls, which can be helpful. If you know you're looking for ways for your chapter to be active, you want to get involved with the CFD movement, but you don't know exactly what they're doing, these national calls can be pretty helpful. And then I included some resources here. Um, the CFD Movement Toolkit basically has all of the templates and resources you need to kind of take the framework that they have for engaging in the CFD movement and bring it to your chapter. So, like, for example, they'll have examples of signs you can make. Um, yeah, we'll just have an example that you can base your signs off. Just all the tools that you need, really. And you can request stickers and gift cards that are related to the CFD movement from that form. I know Stephanie has a box full of them, or several boxes actually, around her desk, and she would like to get rid of them. Um, so she says every other meeting.
I will
But
continue to remind you, please,
of
please order
course.
stickers and gift cards.
And then again, there's the possible actions for your meeting section, which again just goes through things you can do right at your meeting, ways to like take up time or get students engaged, and some things you can plan for during your meeting. So, for example, at the top, we have writing Congress, which would be about 5 minutes, and that's something you can do during your meeting. But at the bottom, planning to give a presentation. A presentation would be something you do afterwards. So at the meeting, you pretty much just plan for it. But yeah, that's the entire action sheet. Hopefully it can be helpful to you guys, inspire some actions if you're like looking for things to do, but you can't really find ways to engage, or you find yourself really busy that month and you need some inspiration. This could be there for you to kind of draw from that.
Thank you so much, Giovanna, for putting that together and for walking us through it so well. Do folks have any questions on any of the potential actions in there or on how you might use the action sheet this month? Mm, very quiet group tonight. Okay. I'm going to reframe that because this is the first time we're trying this. I know Gigi and I would love to hear if you have feedback on how we can make this more useful. And if your feedback is, I'm literally never going to use this, Stephanie, thank you, but that was a waste of time, that's also okay. Please let us know so that Giovanna and I will not waste our time again next month. But please tell us what would make this more useful and usable for you, because that's ultimately what we are here for. We're here to support you. So if it's not supporting, let us know. So any feedback on it?
I think it looks great. I really like it.
Thanks, Sadie, and good to see you.
Yeah, I second
I had
that.
to
I
do
think it's
walks, RA stuff.
Oh,
Mm,
lame.
yeah.
Yeah, Torin.
yeah, no, I just thought it was really cohesive. Um, it's pretty all-encompassing, giving like opportunities for involvement to resources to talk about, and especially current events. I think that's really valuable and like an area that I would probably lack in when it comes to hosting a meeting or a workshop. So I think it's pretty helpful as is.
Yeah, thanks for all the links. It's very nice to have everything in one place. I think the only thing maybe that I can think of, just because I'm personally like a big visual girl, so like just for each action, maybe just like a little clip art thing or like a little sticker, a little thing where it's like, you can scroll and it like pops out at you just so it's a little bit, like makes it a little bit more digestible, a little bit more fun, and it can like kind of spread it out a little bit if there's like a lot of text, or if it's kind of text heavy. If it's like have a pizza party, you could do like a little pizza thing next to it.
That is a great idea. We will experiment with more of that for the next one. Thank you. We'll just load it up with emojis. Awesome. Well, definitely, as you all start using the action sheet, please feel free to tell me, Giovanna, Max, Lily, Isla, and June. Those are all the climate advocacy fellows, whichever one of us you have easiest access to. Feel free to let us know what's working, what's not working, so that we can continue to improve it. Of course, we do also have the Campus Leader Chat channel on our Slack workspace. Sean, I believe I may not have added you to it if you joined Slack already. If you haven't, you can always join at cclusa.org/heat Slack. And once you do, I'll go ahead and add you to this chat, and you can let us know in real time as you start doing some of these actions if there are things that you would have liked more guidance on, sections that didn't seem as useful. Um, just keep an open forum of communication. All right. So another thing we like to do on our campus leader calls is save some time for actually doing some work and thinking and strategizing. So given that we are about to head into the fall semester, we're going to spend a little bit of time planning our start of semester outreach actions. And I know on this call, we've got a mix of folks who have been organizing for a little bit and might already have plans, and folks who are just getting started with thinking about what those first actions might be, whether it's hosting an introductory meeting or tabling at a club fair or anything like that. So we'll just take a couple of minutes to think in your head about what actions you might be taking. And then we'll do a really quick round robin and hear from everybody about what you might do in these first few weeks back on campus. Think about one more minute. And remember, there are no bad ideas. If you want to do something totally wacky and only tangentially related to climate, that also works. A few more seconds. All right. Who would like to start us off? What ideas came to you? Yeah, Sadie.
So I think that we had a lot of success with last year, like a lot. We had like two people, or not two people, 200 people sign up to our email list. Was two people would not be very successful. Um, was the freshman orientation tabling fair. They are chomping at the bit to join anything. And like, granted, I think we had like 40, 50 people come to our first meeting, which is still a lot, but that's only like a quarter of people that signed onto the email list. But most of them just stayed on our email list. So it's like a pretty fun way to get into that. Last year we handed out cookies. We'll probably do the same thing again this year. Plus now we have some CFD stickers, which I'm very excited to hand out. I didn't realize how many I have. I think I have like 150. I've just been like gathering them every chance that I get, like conferences and mail, like all of them. And I'm just like have too many now. So I'm really excited to do that. And making sure this is something that I didn't do last year when we were still a baby chapter and we'd only been like a couple months old. Having all of our plans for our first meeting ready to go before we tabled. Because a lot of the people who are going to that tabling event are like, when are you guys going to meet? That's a really great question. I have no idea. But this year I will like have the answer. I will have the time. I will have the place. I will have the room booked so that like hopefully we can get even more people coming to that first meeting.
Funny because I don't know if it was you telling me that last year or if it was a different campus leader who had a similar issue, but that is part of why on the action sheet you'll see that one of the pro tips for any start of semester tabling is instead of having a traditional flyer, go ahead and have a flyer that also includes a save the date for when your first meeting is going to be, because it is really helpful to have that information. And generally speaking, that's kind of a good rule of thumb that we teach at CCL is to have the next action that you want people to take after a tabling fair already prepped and ready to go so that they can commit to it right then on the spot. And that means they're much more likely to come to that next event. Awesome.
Adding on to that, pro tip, we have a big trifold, which I may or may not have left in the student center in the spring semester, and I'm like really hoping that they still have it. We have like a blank section of it where it's just at like the bottom corner of one of them so that we can put up like a piece of paper and we switch that out. But the rest of the trifold is the same and it has like the continuing information on it.
That's awesome. Who would like to share next?
I think for my actions, I'll probably just have a meeting that like to introduce CCL to like the people who are in my other organization. So have a meeting with like one of the CCL members and like have them ask questions. And of course, like using the extracurricular bazaar um and like table other like do like a tabling event at some point closer to the years because that's like when people are especially like freshmen are like excited to like join new things and that's when people are like outside before it gets like gross and cold. So
Sounds like a great plan. As folks are ready to share, you can go ahead and raise your Zoom hand also, and that way we'll know that you're ready to go. Perfect, Nick.
Yeah, so next week at Indiana University, we have the Student Involvement Fair, and there's an outrageous number of organizations that set up booths there. So I plan on tabling there, and I think that that's going to be a really great opportunity. To Sadie's point, I remember when I was a freshman, I signed up for like 30 organizations. So people really are, chomping at the bit to join an organization. But beyond that, I plan on having some sort of like printout or flyer regarding our chapter and going around to as many buildings as I can find and putting them up in like a lot of buildings have like a cork board, like a community, like you can pin up whatever you want. So I plan on putting those up around campus. And then we already have our date set in a room reserved for our first meeting, which is just going to be the Tuesday following the involvement fair. So it's a pretty quick turnaround, but we have some stuff in the works.
Yeah, sooner is always better. That sounds like a really good plan, Nick. All right, Denise.
So I was thinking like in like the main buildings, as in like the student union, the dining halls, put up flyers on like the bulletin boards and kind of having key information about it. Also same thing. I know we have a fair coming up. I believe it's in the middle of September, so it's trying to table there. And I think that's kind of it I have right now.
Sean.
Yeah, so we have our like club fair as well. So that's going to be something big, especially for new students. And I think like social media is also going to be pretty useful for us. And a lot of our students are like active on social media platforms, so kind of like doing some outreach there.
Do you already have social media accounts for your group, or are you thinking like just advertising it through your own private channels?
No, I need to talk with because there's like a co-lead, so I need to talk with her about
Mm,
like doing that. But
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of our chapters do use social media, and it helps quite a bit. Torin.
Hello. So yeah, I haven't quite connected with like my local chapter too closely yet, but my plan so far was to approach like our sustainability department on campus at UC Davis in particular. I know it's really they have a lot of resources going into it, and beyond that, also approaching my majors department and faculty, and kind of just trying to integrate maybe a campaign at first, but just integrate into their um what's it called, like their network, their audience, as well as just approaching people one on one, probably through my classes or through my major, just trying to establish like a good core of people that could potentially become a chapter, while at the same time still, propping up one of the campaigns. I know we have an upcoming like fall club fair day, but I don't think I'd have capacity at that time to, you know, promote CCL as a whole chapter for people to join. But I just want to start by kind of getting connected and getting CCL out there. And I'd probably do that through more personal outreach at first.
Yeah, I think that's a really great place to start. And especially when you're a new campus leader, don't feel pressure to like immediately jump into tabling or hosting a meeting. It is really helpful to just start building your network of support on campus, and also with your local groups. I'm glad you mentioned that too. Your local CCL chapter can be a really good resource. Who have we not heard from? Yeah, Clara.
I feel like most of my plans have already been said, but kind of along the same lines, my chapter will just be starting this fall. So we're gonna be doing a lot of flyering. We created a Instagram account already, so we're gonna like try to get ahead of it before school starts and following a lot of people from our school and posting kind of about CCL. And then, having flyers. We have like a student fair clubs that you can like go and check out, but unfortunately you can't table unless you are already a club. So we have like a thoroughfare that we can just like table on normally during the school year. So we'll probably do that and then reach out to other clubs that we're involved in to gather more people, create that network before we have our first meeting. So
Awesome. I'm glad you've already hit the ground running. And if you aren't already following CCL.higher on Instagram, please do follow us. And then that way we'll follow you. And I love sharing pictures from everything that everyone's doing. around the country. I think it helps people feel really inspired to see you all doing your work. I think that that was everybody in terms of campus leaders. I think everyone shared. So we've got some time. We like to always end these meetings with a little bit more of an open forum to raise any questions that folks have, anything that you're particularly struggling with right now. Obviously, today's meeting, we focused a lot on beginning of semester, but I know many of you are also doing more long-term planning and goal setting. So I'd love to just hold some space here for folks to share any challenges you're currently facing so that we can try to come together as a community to help you through them.
I was just wondering any if any one of y'all campus leaders that have like more recently gotten started or are, I guess, getting started going to the school year could share like your experience so far regarding, I mean, any challenges, but also just what the process has been like for y'all so far.
So
Um,
I'm sorry, was someone going? Oh, you can go ahead, Yana.
For me it's a little different because I'm like starting with a different group already and I'm just like wanting to use CCL resources for them, but definitely like reach out to people who you know like are interested in this just to make sure like just to have make sure you have, like already like have people maybe like if you know freshmen already coming in or something like that or like know any other people who like have some interest in climate change, like reach out to them personally um to like help you or maybe like, oh, like, do you want to join our first meeting or something like that?
I was gonna say I recommend like seeing if your university has some sort of like student involvement center. Like I know at IU we have, they call them SILC, Student Involvement Center. And I was able to contact someone there and they've been super helpful. Like I was able to have like a sit down meeting with a representative from there and they walked me through how to reserve space for our meetings, how to sign up for the upcoming involvement fair, stuff like that. So if your university has that, that's definitely a huge resource.
Yeah, I already know. I mean, I have had some friends in like our student involvement center, and they've kind of just given me tips here and there because I'm also part of another organization, not climate or environment related, more of a cultural org, but I'm kind of familiar with the more with basically the process of like scheduling and like booking rooms and stuff. I think more so my main I guess my first obstacle that I'm going to deal with is really just networking and gathering support and garnering, a group of people that are really passionate about this. Knowing me, I definitely have some people in mind, and as I mentioned prior, areas that I want to, that I want to target, right? I think in addition to that, which I didn't mention, is other environmental advocacy orgs or other environmental orgs in general, which there are a lot of at UC Davis. So I think for me, it's just a matter of reaching out to those people and keeping track and then trying to invite them to as many. I don't know if CCL has like more public calls or like maybe educationals, workshops, or maybe even recorded, sessions. Yeah. So probably get people on that and just keep spreading the word. Good to hear though. Thanks for that.
Yeah, we definitely have actually pretty much all of CCL's calls, especially for those of you who are new to CCL. We provide all of our education and training completely for free, and most everything you don't even have to sign up to join CCL to access. So if you are reaching out to other groups, feel free to share any trainings that you think might be of interest to them, and let them know like we are an education focused organization in a lot of ways. And we think it's important that that be accessible freely by anybody who needs to better understand how to build political will for any cause. So most everything is publicly available and not behind any sort of like volunteer paywall. Um, yeah, feel free to share that. And also, it's a really good point. We are going to be releasing some guidance specifically in the context of the GOAT campaign very soon, the Get Out the Vote campaign. We'll be releasing some guidance on reaching out to other environmental organizations and collaborating with them, because obviously a get out the vote activity is more effective when more people are participating and having these conversations and getting people registered to vote. So we'll be releasing some more of that guidance in the next couple of weeks. So just keep an eye on your inboxes. Hopefully you've all been receiving those weekly emails, except for you, Sean. I will fix that. And we'll make sure that you're all kept in the loop as soon as those resources are developed by our GOAT team. Anything else? Any other struggles or successes? We also like celebrating things that are going well here. All right. Everything is just going smoothly. We're all ready to go, hit the ground running. Um, okay, so we can always wrap up a little bit early. I do have a few announcements to share with everybody. Before I do that, I would love to take a group pic for Insta because there are no pictures. We did not gather. So if you would like to be in that picture, please keep your camera on or come on camera if you are able to. And if you would not like to be in the picture, that's also perfectly fine. I'll give everybody a minute. Awesome. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Awesome. All right. Some announcements. And while I share these, I would love for you guys to type in the chat. We're going to do an exercise, a Zoom exercise called Waterfall. Have any of you ever done that on a Zoom call before? Okay. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to have the entire time that it takes me to get through announcements to share in the chat, to type in the chat your goal, like your number one biggest goal for the next month. The catch is you will not hit send until I tell you to. And then we're going to be just flooded with great optimistic goals and plans all at once and get to take a minute to read through all that and feel inspired by each other. So go ahead and start typing up your goal in the chat and just don't hit enter. All right, so some announcements. On the agenda, on the strategy call agenda at the top, there are a bunch of resource forms that you can use to order resources. Giovanna mentioned a couple of them. You can order GOAT campaign stickers. You can order CFD movement stickers. You can order these cute, tiny little climate books. They're not quite a pocketbook unless you have very, very large pockets. I certainly do not because women's pants don't often include those. But if you have very, very large pockets, I suppose the pocketbook, the basics of climate science, it can be a really good little treat to give to a potential faculty advisor or somebody who's been working with you for a while as a gift. And of course, it was co-developed by some CCLers, hence why I have a bunch of them. Um, you can also help us get out the climate vote, especially in September ahead of National Voter Registration Day. We're going to be hosting a Spark the Vote challenge. That's another example of things that you will be getting more information about in the upcoming emails. So please make sure that my emails are not just going to spam. You should be getting them every Monday morning. If you aren't, please add me to your approved contacts because there's lots of good information in there. We'll be sharing more information. And the reason I'm especially excited about this is we're partnering with an organization called Why Do You Vote? It's a social media based movement to get out the vote this year around a variety of different causes. And they've actually secured $50,000 in cash prizes for the best social media videos that come in on September, I'm forgetting the exact date, September 14th or 15th, 14th. So we're going to be hosting our own mini challenge. That means that any of you who submit videos will be eligible for prizes. I think they're going for $500 prizes each, which is fabulous. So I would love to see all of you submit videos. We'll share more information about how to host a Spark the Vote day on campus and get more and more of those videos together. And the last announcement is that I would love all of you to make sure that you're not forgetting to take pictures at all of these start of semester events you're going to be doing. Please take pictures and share them with us. share them on social media and tag the CCL Higher Ed account, but also send them directly to me or your climate advocacy fellow. Put them in the campus leader chat so we can all cheer you on. It's just a really great way to see like the work is really happening and to stay motivated throughout. And very importantly, Sadie did us a huge favor in June and sat and recorded for a video on how to start a campus chapter. And it is beautiful, but it is in a beige room at the Omni Hotel where the June conference happened. So while Sadie is a lovely human, the video is a little bit boring because she's just sitting in one place the entire time. So we want to include pictures of our campus chapters doing stuff and videos as well. So feel free to record and send us B-roll, and it might be incorporated in that video for all future campus leaders to see.
I just want to
All
shout
right.
out, I
Yeah.
personally love beige. People have described my bedroom before as sad beige baby, and I live for it. I think it's great, but I understand it's not for everybody. I do like beige.
I'm a big neutrals person, but I do feel like if I have to watch an entire video where someone's just sitting in one place, it could be like bright peacock green behind you, and I'd still be bored. No offense. Need some motion and activity. All right, are we ready for our waterfall in the chat? Okay, go ahead and press enter. We'll read these off as they come in. Nice. All right, there's a few of you who haven't entered yet. I can do some basic math. All right, so Jan is going to be settling into sophomore year and starting off the year strong. I love that. Always really good to make sure we're on good fitting. Nick will be getting at least 100 people to join his email list during the involvement fair. That's super exciting. And to find more students to help lead our chapter. Yes, we love thinking about leadership and succession early on in the semester. Clara is going to get 25 people for our first meeting. I love that. Creating an action plan with your co-lead, Sean. That's a great idea. Torin's going to be creating an outline or proposal for CCL presence at UC Davis to share with other students and faculty. Yes, organization is always helpful and a good way to start pitching yourself on campus. Denise will be working on developing their chapter on campus somehow, trying different ways to engage students and make sure that the chapter is comfortable and fits in on campus at first. Really, really great idea. And a good opportunity to connect with other environmental groups on campus too to figure out how you can work together. And Giovanna's going to be working on supporting and growing the Climate Goat campaign, which we're very excited about. Awesome. Sadie, where's your waterfall?
Did not go? Wait,
No, it did not
sorry.
go.
That's my bad.
Nice. Oh, you just built up all the suspense there. Getting on Vermont Public Radio. I love that. Great goal. We have had a couple of obviously lots of volunteers on radio stations, but we have had some youth and student volunteers do it before. So I think that's very feasible. Also,
Yeah, and there are
Citizens
about
Climate
4
Radio,
people that work
CCL's
for
podcast.
VPR, so
Nice. That's awesome. Citizens Climate Radio, which is CCL's podcast, if you did not know about it and you're into podcasts, new episodes every month, is now ranked #2 for a climate change podcast.
Where can you find that podcast?
You can find it pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. I listen to it on Spotify because I'm a Spotify girly, but you can find it everywhere, and you can also just find it on the CCL website. We'll post the actual audio track on there too. So if you don't have an account anywhere, you can listen to it for free there. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much for taking an hour out of your evening to join us tonight. We'll see you again next month. September 16th will be our next meeting, our next campus leader call, and it will be hosted by one of our fellows, our Mid-Atlantic Climate Advocacy Fellow, Isla. We'll be talking more about the GOAT campaign and ways that you can get out the vote on your campus. So it'll be much more focused on that one campaign, but as always, we'll include updates about any other opportunities to get involved. So I will see you then. Bye, everybody.
bye. Thanks, Stephanie.